Okay, they just cued the doves. Here they come. There go the Bavarian doves, 5,000 of them. Symbolizing peace, brotherhood, sportsmanship, which is certainly much in evidence here today.
A generation after World War II and the Holocaust, West Germany was hoping that the Games of the 20th Olympiad would show the world a new nation, modern, vibrant, and repentant. Unlike the Games of the 11th Olympiad, a fascist fantasy come to life, held in Hitler's Berlin in 1936, these games were styled as the Serene Olympics. In the effort to create an atmosphere of inclusion and openness, the West Germans purposely tried to minimize Olympic security.
This was the coming out party for West Germany returning to the world community, and they did a fabulous job. There was only one risk in all that. The security probably wasn't at the level it should have been.
At 4:30 a.m. on September 5, 1972, 8 members of a Palestinian terrorist group known as Black September climbed an unguarded fence surrounding the Olympic Village. They made their way toward 31 Connollystrasse, which housed, among others, 11 male members of the Israeli Olympic delegation.
I was sleeping out on the balcony, and I remember waking up and hearing this door slam as if it were some kind of fire door or something just banging shut. I thought, I've been here a couple weeks. It's the first time I've heard this sound. That's a gunshot.
The terrorists stormed the third-floor dormitory, forced open one of the bedroom doors, and began shooting.
Arab terrorists, armed with submachine guns, faces blackened, a couple of them disguised as guards or as trash men in the Olympic Village, climbed the fence, went to the headquarters of the Israeli team, and immediately killed one man, Moshe Weinberg, a coach, 2 shots in the head, 1 in the stomach. And the latest report is that 1 more has been killed.
The facts started to emerge through the afternoon. The Palestinians had captured 11 Israeli men. 2 were killed almost instantly. 9 were secured as prisoners inside their dormitory, including fencing coach Andrei Spitzer. Just 2 weeks earlier, he'd watched as his wife Anki had given birth to their first child.
At around 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they brought Andrei in front of the window, and I couldn't believe it. I saw that he was being hit with the butt of the rifle by one of the terrorists, and they pushed him backwards into the room, and they closed the window and they closed the curtain.
And we're moving in now on the windows behind which, at this moment, 8 or 9 terrified living human beings are being held prisoner. A police spokesman said a squad of 38 volunteers would storm the house if a deal had not been worked out with the Arabs by the deadline. And now we've gotten an official time check. It is 5 o'clock. This is the deadline. The storming, if it is going to happen, could happen at any moment.
Heinz Hohenson was a German police officer at the 1972 Summer Olympics.
The plan was to climb down the ventilation shaft carrying machine guns to get the terrorists and free the hostages. Suddenly we realized this could be like climbing into hell. We didn't have any information. We had no idea what was down there, where anybody was.
German policemen dressed as athletes began staging the rescue operations in broad daylight, with a crowd looking on, and with TV cameras broadcasting live, capturing their every move, images the terrorists were watching.
I'm not sure these men have guns or cameras. That's a gun, all right. One man with binoculars, another with a gun.
The Palestinians realized their demands wouldn't be met. Instead, they planned an exit strategy, demanding a jet which would fly them to a safe haven in an unnamed Arab country.
Finally, the Germans agreed to let the Arabs take their hostages to the heliport, still inside the village.
In the minutes that followed, ABC reporters and producers, using walkie-talkies, described the scene as the terrorists and their hostages prepared to leave 31 Connollystrasse.
We have an immense flurry of action here. Suddenly, in the whole area between Building 20 and Building 12, they have been clearing out cars. Police officers in almost platoon-like numbers have been running past us and are now staging in front of us. We're building up, I think, to a climax. The light is on the second floor, and it looks like they're getting ready to, leave the building. A police official standing here, clearing everybody away, told me that a deal had been made. The Arabs would be coming out within 5 minutes, and they expect the arrival of a helicopter within 5 minutes. There's a chopper just landed at the back of the Olympic Village here, roughly gate number 7. On the second floor, I see 3/4 of the room where the Israelis were only 5 minutes ago. They now have disappeared. One helicopter has just lifted off, and the second one looks like it's leaving the ground shortly.
The helicopters were flying to a small German Air Force base in the town of Fürstenfeldbruck, about 19 miles west of Munich. Here, the Germans had plans to make their last-ditch attempt to rescue the Israelis, as seen in this model recreation. German snipers, 3 on the roof of the tower, 2 across the tarmac, were in each other's crossfire. None had telescopic or night vision. The snipers also didn't have bulletproof vests, walkie-talkies, or firefight experience. Waiting on the tarmac 200 yards from the tower, a Lufthansa 727, fully loaded with 10,000 gallons of jet fuel, even though the Germans knew the terrorists were carrying hand grenades. On board the plane, 16 more police officers dressed up as a Lufthansa crew. One of them was Heinz Hohensen.
On board the plane, we had some discussions, but we agreed not to go through with it because we decided it would be a suicide mission. We didn't have the proper uniforms, and the terrorists would have seen that we were not real stewards.
The police abandoned their plan and exited the plane just minutes before the helicopters were supposed to land. When the terrorists arrived and saw no crew on board the plane, they realized they'd been tricked.
Suddenly there were gunshots, only 100 meters away. It was absolutely chaotic. Nobody knew what was going on. We were standing in ditch, and we stayed under cover because we had no orders.
It was a fiasco. The terrorists shot out the spotlights that had illuminated the airfield, as the Israeli hostages remained strapped to their seats in the 2 helicopters.
Went down and found the commander of the police unit there. I asked him, "What are you staying here? Have you got any orders to do something, to run an attack or to move outside?" And he said, "No, I have no idea and I have no orders, and I'm staying here."
The latest word we get from the airport is that, quote, all hell is broken loose out there, that there is still shooting going on, that there's a report of a burning helicopter.
Around midnight, a full hour after the shooting had started, the Palestinians detonated a hand grenade in one of the helicopters and machine-gunned the other hostages just as German police rushed in with armored cars. Initial reports from the airbase indicated the hostages had all been saved, but just after 3 a.m. local time, around 9 o'clock at night in the eastern U.S., Jim McKay reported the grimmest of updates.
We've just gotten the final word. You know, when I was a kid, my father used to say, our greatest hopes and our worst fears are seldom realized. Our worst fears have been realized tonight. They've now said that there were 11 hostages. 2 were killed in their rooms yesterday morning. 9 were killed at the airport tonight. They're all gone.
Jim McKay came on. I never forget it, and he said they're all gone. And I heard that, and pandemonium broke out in my house.
Later that morning, the 11 Israelis were memorialized at the Olympic Stadium. At that time, Avery Brundage, the president of the International Olympic Committee, made the controversial announcement that the Games would resume.
We cannot allow a handful of terrorists to destroy this nucleus of international cooperation and goodwill. We have
On the northern outskirts of Tel Aviv in Israel lay the graves of 5 of the victims, including Andrei Spitzer. To mark the 40th anniversary of the massacre, Anki Spitzer and others petitioned the International Olympic Committee to observe a moment of silence during the opening ceremony of the London Olympics, a request that was denied.
This story is not about 11 Israelis that were murdered. It's about 11 athletes who came in hope for friendship and fair play and in the name of sport and came back in coffins. That's not the Olympic idea, that's not the Olympic dream, and it should never happen again.